Yes.
Show you what's been.
No objection.
As the next state exhibit.
Stipulated to? Ms. Ford?
No objection.
Said no objection.
Yeah, it'll be admitted.
State 1Q marked for identification becomes State Exhibit 10.
Let me show you what's been moved into evidence of state exhibit number 10. Do you recognize what's in this picture?
Yes.
What's in the picture?
Bronco.
Well, what's here in the picture?
Truck.
And whose truck?
Kirk.
May I show this to the jury?
Go ahead.
So in June of 1997, he did have his own truck.
Yes.
And I think we talked earlier about what you found when you came inside your apartment, besides the note that said, "Don't ever think the kids will stop me." And you said you noticed some things were knocked over.
Yes.
And those are what's shown in State Exhibit 7. Yes?
Yeah.
And you still didn't think that the defendant was upset with you that day, that night?
Objection.
I mean, did that add to your concern?
Objection.
No.
See, you left Melody's, and when you left Melody's, you started to look for your truck and you started to look for your children.
When I left where?
When you left Marcus's, Billy's, and you couldn't find them.
No.
And so when you couldn't find them, what were you feeling?
I was getting scared, worried.
Sorry?
So I was getting worried, scared.
And every moment that went by, would you become less or more worried?
More worried.
And so, who did you call?
At first, I called Farron to see if he was over there with the kids.
Was he there?
No. Or she didn't answer.
Right. Then you called,
The police.
and what did you tell the police?
I told them that my truck was taken, that I needed help finding it.
And what else did you tell them?
And that I think I told them my kids were in there, and I'm not sure. I don't remember what I said exactly.
Well, when you called the police, was the only thing that you were concerned about your truck?
I think I told them, I can't remember if I told them my kids were in there
What was
the
the
first
most
time.
What was the most important thing in the world to you then?
My kids.
And so when you called the police that morning, when you went looking for your truck and your kids, what did you tell them you were looking for, Miss Tiger?
My truck.
And what else?
My kids. But I don't know if I told them my kids were in there. I just told them I needed help finding my truck. But I can't remember exactly what I said to him.
Did you call the police again?
Yes.
And what did you tell them?
I told him that Kirk had taken my truck and I needed help finding it because my kids were in there and that he didn't know that they're in there, that he might do something to it.
You called the police department, correct?
Yeah.
Do you remember exactly what it was that you said to them?
No.
Well, I'll show you a copy of the police report and see if it helps you refresh your recollection. Have this marked for identification purposes?
I didn't make a police report.
But you called them, correct?
Uh-huh.
And you talked to an officer Fierro?
I don't know what his name was.
Say 1B, marked for identification.
Call your attention to the second page. This line starts with "she informed." Does that help you remember what you actually told the police when you called them?
I didn't tell the police officer that he had made threats against the children. I didn't say that. I don't know where he got that.
Did you still love Kirk Billy in June of 1997?
In 97?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you called the police twice, and you did tell them you were looking for your children, and you worried about your children.
What was the question?
Didn't you tell the police that you were worried about your children?
I think the second time I called, I think I mentioned my kids.
And by the second time you called, were you even more concerned than the first time you called?
Yes.
And again, every moment that went by, were you even more concerned?
Yes.
Now, did it add to your concern that the defendant had threatened to dump your car in the canal before?
That night, yes.
Did you tell the police that the defendant had taken your truck?
Yes.
Did you tell him that he stole it?
No.
Do you remember giving a statement to the Metro Police Department on the morning of June 27th of 1997? The morning that your
No, I
children
don't.
were killed? Do you remember?
No, I don't really remember that morning.
Let me hand this up to you. I'm handing you page 9. Let me show you where I'm referring your attention. Right here on page 9, do you remember being asked this question and giving this answer? Did you eventually report your children missing and your truck stolen to the police? Answer, yes. Do you remember that?
No.
That is what it says.
Yes.
And it does say that it's sworn in the front, correct? Sworn statement of Sheila Tiger.
Yes.
And had the defendant threatened to steal your truck in the past?
To steal it? No.
Do you remember on page 11, and I'll call your attention to right here, being asked this question and giving this answer? Had he ever threatened to steal your truck and drive it in a canal? Answer, yes, or maybe just wreck it. Do you remember that question and that answer?
No, I don't remember.
Let me ask you a couple of other questions. Did there come a time, not too much long after the second phone call that you placed in the police department, when you went to the police department, the MICCOSUKEE Police Department?
Ask the question again.
Yeah. Did you go to the MICCOSUKEE Police Station?
I was standing outside the police station when I called them.
Did you go inside at some point?
Yeah, later that morning I did.
And when you went inside, was the defendant inside?
Yes.
And did you talk to him?
Yeah.
What was the most important thing in the world to you when you went in to talk to the defendant after the second telephone call to the police? What was the most important thing in the world to you?
My kids.
Now, at that moment, when you went in to talk to the defendant, did you know where your truck was?
No.
Did you know where your children were?
No.
Did you know, and I know this is hard for you, but did you know their condition then?
No.
And so, what is it that you said to the defendant when you went in and saw him that morning?
I asked them where the truck was at.
And what did he say in response to that?
He just asked me why I was running from him.
And then what did you say to him?
I asked him again, where's the truck at?
Still the truck.
Excuse me?
You're still asking about the truck?
Yeah.
All right. Assuming you're still asking about the truck, what did he say then?
Just asked me, why are you running from me?
And then what did you ask him?
I think I walked out for the first time.
All right. Is it fair to say that he's in a holding cell?
Uh-huh.
And you went back to see him on more than one occasion?
Yeah.
And the second time you go in, what do you ask him the second time you go in?
I asked him where the truck was at and that we need to find it.
I'm sorry?
That we needed to find it.
And
The kids were in there.
you needed to find it because the kids were in there.
Yes.
And at the time you're talking to him, where's Kirkland?
He's in the truck with Farron outside the police station.
When you go in and talk to the defendant, you talk to him on more than one occasion.
Yes.
Don't you go in there holding Kirkland?
One of the times I did.
So at least one of the times you go in talking to the defendant, you're literally holding your little baby Kirkland.
Yes.
And you're asking him where the kids are.
I don't know if I asked him when I was holding him, but I asked him a couple of times.
At least one of the times you were back there, you had Kirkland?
Yes.
So it wasn't a mystery where Kirkland was.
No.
Did you tell him what kids you were looking for?
Yes.
And you even named them, didn't you?
I think I named my oldest.
So tell the jury what you said to him.
Just asked him where's... I said his Indian name. I said where they at. And I said his Indian name.
And what did he say at first? Miss Tiger, do you need some water?
No.
Do you need a moment?
I'm trying to think what he said, because I can't remember what it was exactly said in order, so I'm kind of like confused.
Now, you remember you did give sworn testimony to the federal grand jury. You remember that? I think we've talked about that a bit today. Ms. Tiger?
Yeah,
And was it the truth? I think you said it was. Ms. Tiger?
yeah,
I'm sorry?
yes,
All right, let me see if we can refresh your recollection with your testimony from August the 13th of 1998. Call your attention to page 27. Let's start at line 17. Do you still have the copy in front of you? I think it's the bottom document. Do you want me to turn it to the correct page for you?
Page.
Page 27. Let's start at, well, let's start first at line 2. Now, do you remember being asked this question and giving this answer? Each time you went back there, were you trying to find out where your children were? Answer, yes. Do you remember that question and answer?
no,
But that is what it says.
yes,
Now, let me take you down and trying to help you to remember the sequence of what you said to line 17. Do you see that? Take a moment and look at lines 17 through the bottom of the page and on to the very top of page 28. And tell me after you've read it. So tell the jury what you asked him.
I asked him if he saw them back there,
You asked him what?
if he saw them back there.
If he saw them back there?
Yes, one of the times I went back to the holding cell.
And when you asked the defendant if he saw them back there, what did he say?
He said, yeah.
And what did you ask him next?
I asked him they're okay. He said, yeah.
And what did you ask him next?
I asked him where they were at. He didn't tell me anything.
And what did you ask him next? At the bottom of the page, if that helps you.
I already said that. I had asked him where they were at, and I said he didn't say anything.
Did you ask him if he left them with someone?
Yeah,
And did he say anything to that?
no,
And who were you talking about? Which children were you talking about this time?
Kirk and Keith.
And on at least one of the occasions, you had Kirkland in your arms.
Yes,
And in addition to asking him those questions, by the way, Ms. Tiger, can the defendant swim? Does the defendant know how to swim?
yes,
Did your children know how to swim?
no.
Did he know that?
I'm sure he did.
Now, you asked the defendant something else. You have the statement you gave to the Metro-Dade Police Department the very morning this happened in front of you still? Let me call your attention to page 10. And let me take you down to, I ask you to just read it for a moment. And to call your attention to this passage. Let me know when you've had a chance to read that. Ms. Tiger, tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what else you asked the defendant.
If he saw him back there,
And what else did you ask him besides whether he saw him?
and if they were okay. And he said, yeah.
And what else did you say to him?
Under Jefferson property use of prior statement.
Does that help you?
Overruled.
Does that help you refresh your recollection about what else you asked him?
Judge, if you
Yes.
could just,
Let me
I ask
see.
that you look at
Let me take a look. Mr. Rubin,
Yes, Judge.
what's the question?
The question is, if I could just move back over here for a second, call your attention to this passage. Did you ask him another question?
Judge, there's nothing else.
I thought I answered it.
Did you, very well, did you ask him the question, and I quote, "But you know that they were in the back"? Did you ask him that question, and what was his answer?
It says, yeah.
All right, you asked him the question?
I asked him if he saw them back there, and he said, yeah. And I asked him if they're okay, and he said, yeah.
Did you also ask him, "But you know they were in the back"? Did you also ask him that?
I just asked if he saw them back there.
Let me ask you the question this way. Do you remember being asked these questions and giving these answers to the Metro-Dade Police Department under oath? Question, but didn't Kirk tell you the kids were okay? Answer, I asked him after I talked to the police officer. I went back there and I asked him, and he said, yeah. And I asked him where were they at, but he wouldn't tell me. And I asked him, but you know that they were in the back? And he said, yeah. And I asked him if they were okay, and he said, yeah. And they asked you the next question. So to make sure we have it straight,
No, that's not. Mr. Rubin, sustain. Let's move
do you
on.
recall those questions and those answers?
I don't, because I don't remember that morning that much.
But
I was like in shock, so I don't remember who I talked to, who I saw that morning.
But that's essentially the same thing you told the grand jury a year later, correct?
Objection.
Overruled.
Isn't that the same thing you told the grand jury a year later, Ms. Tiger?
I don't know.
Isn't that what we just went through with the ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Let me call your attention.
Objection, argument.
Sustain.
All right, let me call your attention back to page 27 of the grand jury testimony.
Judge, I'm objecting being argumentative
Just to call
and
your...
repetitive.
Sustain.
Ms. Tiger, the defendant told you that he saw the children in the truck that night, didn't he?
In the truck?
Back
I didn't
there.
ask him if he saw him in the truck. I just asked, did you saw him back there? And he said, yeah.
Nothing further at this time.
Thank you. Let me see Council Sutton.
a little emotional.
I understand. Just wait a second, Mr. Diaz. Sure. Ms. Tiger, if you'd like to step out, go ahead, please. Mike. Ms. Tiger, go ahead and step out. Just stand by for us, okay? All right, folks, we're going to call it a night. We're going to ask that you be back tomorrow morning at 10:15. Can we make it 10:15 as opposed to 10:30? 10:15 tomorrow morning, 7th floor, 7th floor? 7th floor. Now, before you go, tomorrow night will be pretty much the same thing. Can you stay any later? Can we, how late can we go? You still have the problem 6? Okay, well. Let me see the lawyers at sidebar. Hold on. A lot of consultations back and forth. Okay. We are going to call it a night. Y'all have been here with us later than this pretty regularly, so we're going to call it a night tonight. But Thursday night, I'm telling you now, in advance, it's going to be late. 9 or so Thursday night, we have to. Maybe even a little later. Yes? Probably around 1. We'll start at like 1 on Thursday. We'll give the opportunity because, and we'll also take it into account as far as Friday's concerned. Friday is going to be a short day. It may not even, we may not even meet on Friday. We're working on that one right this second. But it's going to be a short day. But y'all need to be prepared to be with us until between 9 and 10 o'clock on Thursday night. And Juan is going to, well, let me just see if I show you hands. How many of you all use the MetroRail, first of all? How many of y'all use the MetroRail to go south? Same ones. Okay. One, take me for a second. 1, 2.
Advanced notice, I can do it.
Well, it's up to you, sir. It's up to you. I'm just asking on a regular basis. The rest of y'all drive here? Normally drive here? All right. Well, for those of you who live south, and it's convenient for you to use the MetroRail, do you all go down to as far as the Kendall station, or do you all go, where do you go? Okay. Dayland South. Well, Dayland South. Is that where most people go? Okay. Do you get picked up or you drive a car? Okay. Okay. Because, well, we're going to work it out so that you don't have to come back up here and then go home again from here. Okay? So make arrangements for Thursday night to be available until 10. And tomorrow morning, and then Friday, we'll have a shorter day, if at all, on Friday. Tomorrow, 10:15, upstairs, 7th floor, tomorrow morning. So everybody be prompt. And anything else I can answer for you right now? Okay. Now you know what I'm going to say.